within New Thought, there's often this concept of engaging in spiritual bypass or metaphysical malpractice or whatnot, where people will say that they are doing the work. So in this, what would you offer someone as a practice or as a step into greater awareness so that we know if we're actually pivoting and not simply just turning? Like, are we actually practicing it, or are we fooling ourselves thinking we're practicing it, but we're really not? What would your invitation be?
I mean, for me, it is, are we producing the results in our lives that we want consistently, right? Are we, so if we choose, are we creating the impact in our lives that we intend? Are we living in a space of truthfulness? My own experience, Rev, I can only speak from my experience, and my experience is that the pivots offer so much profound grace. It is so much easier to walk into grace than it is to fight the other thing, right? And I think when people are walking in that grace, and that when they're using the pivots and they're walking into grace, you could see it, right? You could feel it. And again, it is not the silver bullet that, people are gonna, it's a practice, right? So sometimes there are some pivots that'll be harder for some than others. And my wife has always said, there should be, the book, she pushed me to say there should be a fifth pivot. Maybe that'll be the next book. And the fifth pivot, I just kind of buried in the last chapter, but it is the pivot between accountability and grace, right? And that dance between accountability and grace can capture this entire book. But I think your question about how do we know someone is, actually doing the pivots, the real question is how are we offering them grace to explore it? And how are we holding them accountability towards their own dreams and imagination? And so, I think we have to balance and be able to be fluent in accountability and grace, and be able to sort of dance between them in ways that allow us to continue to move forward in ways that are consistent with our values. And so, accountability is important, but we also have to use grace